Hello and welcome to the DRS Zone podcast. It's our first episode of 2022. My name is Ed Wyatt, and I do this alongside my 13-year-old son and Formula One fanatic, Sam Wyatt. How are we, Sam?
We are very good. You can't really be in a bad mood with F1 right around the corner. We're back for the first race after a long break, which actually didn't seem that long. In fact, we didn't even know the race was this Sunday. We thought it was weeks away. The time went so fast.
Don't let our secrets out.
Sorry.
Don't let our secrets out. A couple of guys who were supposedly Formula One experts, and we thought the season started a week from now. So we're already behind, but it is very, very exciting. I should also mention we started this podcast a year ago, just a little bit of fun between a father and a son, and it sort of developed into a bigger thing, and we did one after every race. We are also on Instagram at the DRS Zone Pod. You can find us there. We're doing some live and some commentary during the season. But this is where we really get to talk about things. And this is going to be a fascinating year. It only seems like yesterday, doesn't it, Sam? We were sitting around in the lounge room. You had a couple of buddies over, and we were watching that crazy finish to the season.
Yeah, as I said, like the time has flown so fast since then, and this season has hopefully will not be that short because I want it to last so long because I love F1. But coming up very soon, a lot of big stories heading into the first race. First one, Red Bull and Mercedes resuming their rivalry.
Yeah, well, it's that story just wouldn't go away. Really, we saw the whole fiasco of the finish in Abu Dhabi. Michael Massey, the race director, has been demoted, moved, if you will.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of debate about whether or not, the Hamilton people, the Verstappen people have different thoughts about the way that race finished. And there has been adjustment made to the lapped cars rule, so hopefully there won't be an issue like that again, where
Yeah.
it looked to some as if the race were being manipulated. If you're a Hamilton fan, you think it was not fair. If you're a Verstappen fan, you were happy with the decision. But that obviously, I think going into this year will again be the big story. Max Verstappen, the world champion, Lewis Hamilton second. You would think they'd be the two big rivals going at it again.
Yeah, I agree too. And hopefully it's not as similar. I think we'll have some other threats going for that championship battle. Hope it's a little closer to pack. Especially Ferrari, McLaren coming up with the new era of Formula One. Some other teams might be able to go at it for the championship. Another one, Nikita Mazepin out and K-Mag is in. Magnussen, an incredible return to Formula One with Haas.
Yeah, it's a two-part story, isn't it? Really, Nikita Mazepin, through the connections of his father, who is close to Vladimir Putin, fell victim to the sanctions against Russian ownership. So that is no longer part of Haas, and along with it went Mazepin, who was essentially there because of the money. So that's part one. He left, and then part two became who was going to fill the seat.
Yeah, it was kind of a shock. Like, I didn't believe it when they said Kevin Magnussen to make sensational return. I was like, what? Isn't he gone? Doesn't he have a family? I thought he was taking time off, but he's back. He's back. K-Mag.
He's back. Well, there was some talk that it was, Fittipaldi was the backup driver, the third driver, and he was in the seat for a while. There was some talk of Oscar Piastri, although when you talk to Piastri's people, they were always adamant that he wasn't going to race in Formula One this year. And then, yeah, you're right. Out of the blue, Kevin Magnussen came back. He knows what he's doing. It's a good choice. He's driven there before.
He's experienced. He knows the team. He knows the people. I think Schumacher said it's a good benchmark for him.
Yeah.
I think that's right. Someone to try and be on the same level as. The third one, Daniel Ricciardo contracting COVID-19. He's just tested negative and he will be out of isolation. And I think many Australian fans will be happy about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, I mean, there was some doubt whether he's going to be able to come out of isolation for the Bahrain practice, which threw up all kinds of thoughts about who was going to take the seat. Again, Piastri.
Piastri just joined McLaren's junior team, so he joins and then he could get called up straight away. But
it's like Piastri will be fascinating to watch this year.
one Aussie replacing another Aussie.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he is out. He tested negative. He's going to drive, which is great news. And with the Australian Grand Prix back, the third race of the season, Ricardo would like to get a strong start and then put on a decent show here in front of the home fans. So that is great news, especially this podcast is done out of Melbourne. So it does, we focus a bit on Ricardo because obviously he's the only Australian driver in F1 at the moment, if you don't count Piastri. But yeah, good news, really good news there. You don't want to start on the back foot, which would have happened if you'd had to miss the race.
Yeah. What's up next?
Well, before we move on to talk about Drive to Survive, we probably should talk about the testing a little bit. New cars this year, they look a little different. There's a lot has changed, and the testing results threw up some pretty interesting conundrums, didn't it? Some interesting results.
I have the results here. Day one, the AlphaTauri of Gasly was fastest from the two Ferraris, Sainz ahead of Leclerc. Day two, Sainz was fastest, Verstappen second, but they would be second and third if you counted Haas's freight. Their parts came late.
Yep.
And Kevin Magnussen got some extra time and ended up posting the fastest time of day two. So Haas fastest, haven't seen that in a very, very, very long time. And the final day, Verstappen, amazing lap, then Leclerc and Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, and I guess the thing about testing is you just never really know. Like coming out of that, Mercedes people, I think it was George Russell's quote as saying,
yeah, they're not in the top three in any of those. Mercedes.
Well, Russell said Ferrari's the team to watch this year, and then Sainz and some of the Ferrari people
said typical Mercedes, typical George.
Yeah, exactly. Like
some sandbagging. I think people are sick of that. Like, oh, we could be on the back foot, and then Hamilton wins back to back.
Who really knows?
People are sick of that.
Yep, and people don't really know. I don't think anyone expects Mercedes to come back and be weak. I can't see that, but who knows? It is different. You never know, but the proof will be in the pudding.
It's going to be wacky. Yeah, it's going to be a very, very weird season. Yep. Now, Drive to Survive. Drive to Survive.
Mm-hmm.
What are your first opinions?
Well, neither of us thought it started very quickly, did we?
No, the first couple of episodes about like the intro and the McLaren stuff, I didn't love, to be honest. I didn't think it was really good. But it started to get better. They showed a lot of Leclerc crashing in Monaco, which I was not a fan of. And then when the Hamilton Verstappen episode came in, the first one, that was sort of when it changed into more off-track rivalry than just getting started. And I think that was a big turning point for them, because then they went into Russell coming up to Mercedes, Bottas going, and then the final couple of eps. So I think it got a lot better after that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, first thing you have to remember is, it's not made for Formula One experts or necessarily people that love the sport. It's a sort of a broad introduction. So the first couple I felt were very, very broad, in fact, too broad. But I like when they started drilling down into things like, I thought the Bottas stuff was really interesting.
Yeah, that
Gunther
was
Steiner was really interesting.
Yeah, I liked that Haas episode. Gunther Steiner was, he went from swearing all the time and yelling at everyone to kind of being the funny guy, like, we're lost, that's what we do, we accept
Very
it.
funny. Yeah, very funny that way. Maybe a little too much Horner and Toto Wolff for me. I felt like there was a little too much of Horner riding a horse, walking around with Ginger Spice, and her asking him how they were going to do this year. I thought, and in fact, I didn't like that technique. I'll be very critical now. I didn't like the technique. They did it with, who was golfing? Was that Sainz? Or was that Lando Norris? Lando was golfing,
yeah.
And his buddy was asking the question. So they used that technique of the driver being out there and then having someone else go, how are you going to go this year? Do you think you're going to, Ricardo's interesting.
I don't love that.
Didn't like that technique so much.
Yeah, like Ricardo on the bikes, like, come here. How do you think you're going? Tough start. I mean.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I didn't love that, but I could see why they did it. I did like the way they interviewed people and then hung on them at the end. So they interviewed Toto Wolff and he would say, that's the way it is. And then instead of cutting right immediately, they left it there and you see him kind of lick his lips or make a face or something. And it really emphasized what they were doing. I did like that.
Yeah. I agree with that.
There was
Sonoda, the star, Yuki
Sonoda was great.
Sonoda.
I'm not sure it
That was
made people like
hilarious.
him. I'll be honest. I kind
No,
of looked
I
at it and
don't
went,
think that gave him extra friends.
no.
Although it was funny. It was funny. Although he really doesn't like training. He's like in the middle of a run. Can I use the toilet? No.
Yeah, I found that here's a guy that's one of only 20 guys in the world with this job, and he didn't want to train. I was kind of like, you look at all these other guys working their tails off, and you're kind of like,
Yeah.
come on, Sonoda. You're not, and I think they made that
Come
point.
on.
They made that point, Sam. It's kind of like, there's getting an F1 drive and being a driver, and then there's
Then
keeping
there's
that
keeping
seat,
it.
right?
Yeah.
And
It's a completely different animal.
yeah, it is.
Like
Yep.
you can easily get it. All you need to do is win F2, F3, like Piastri. But once he gets there, who knows if he's going to be able
Yep.
to just talk the talk or actually walk the walk and
Absolutely
achieve some
right.
results.
Now they had the other thing I will say about it, they had some amazing conversations. Wolf talking to Bottas about next year, that kind of stuff. I
Yeah,
thought
they
was
got some great
really
access.
great. Yeah, they got some incredible access. I like that. The other thing I loved when they come to the race, they go down the pit lane and they're all sort of saying hi to each other, giving each other a bad time, having a laugh. Was it Steiner that was talking about how he had to walk past all the other cars?
Yeah, it's like a
Him?
walk of shame.
Or was it Williams? It might have been the
No,
Williams guy.
Oh yeah, it is
Yeah.
because they were last in the previous
Yes.
season.
And he was great. Was that Jost?
Jost Capito, yeah.
He was great. I really enjoyed
I
that
think he
Williams
was good.
stuff. Yeah, that was a
that
good
was good.
episode. Yeah.
That was good. Not too much George Russell, not enough Ferrari, in my opinion.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of Ferrari. I wonder if they cooperated as much. I don't know.
2 eps on George Russell and no Ferrari, and it obviously hurt them. I didn't really notice though that Verstappen didn't do any interviews. I mean, it seemed like it would hurt them a lot, but I don't think it affected it that much.
They worked it in well.
The
Yeah, they worked it in well with the vision, with the older interviews, with some of the shots they've had from before. I agree. Look, by and large, I agree with you. It started slowly, picked up steam, and by the end, I was ready for another 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah, I think it is the best season, just because we've been so interested in this season, and it's been such a crazy season.
True.
Yeah, so invested our time into it so much that we're looking forward to it. And I think it delivered pretty well.
Yep, I'm really happy with it. So let's look forward. It's 2022. We got practice and qualifying and a race coming up. What are you looking forward to? If I asked you to narrow it to 3, let's say 3 things you're looking forward
I've got
to.
like 20.
I know that, but you're gonna have to whittle it down, narrow it.
One would obviously be Ferrari in the hunt. Possibly could be championship contenders.
And in case people didn't know, you are a big Ferrari fan.
Yeah, podiums or race wins or something.
Yep.
That's exciting. Miami Grand Prix. That is something to look forward to.
Yes.
New race in America around the football stadium.
I did read that the Drive to Survive has really driven ticket requests and things, and Miami is like a real destination race this year.
Yeah, and I think it'll be really good up there with Monaco.
Yep.
And third one, I think I'm going to go sprint races. Last year it was a bit weird, but it seems a lot more controlled, more points on offer for more people.
Yep.
And I think it'll start being seen more as a race than a little race. And I'm excited for that. And more of them, I think 5 or 6 of them this year.
Okay.
So, yeah, 3 things. But the list goes on.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
What about you?
I would say I'm looking forward to a new season, and hopefully it's kind of a clean season, and it's not just about Toto Wolff and Horner. I felt like they dominated at the end of the year. I felt it was almost a borderline ugly too. I wasn't happy with the negative side of that. The way things finished. I love Formula One. I want more people to get into it. I don't want them just to get into it because you've got these 2 guys fighting each other. I'd like to see a cleaner race. So I'm looking forward to potentially that. Piastri, I know we've mentioned him 2 or 3 times, but he's been talked about as the best young driver to come out of Australia in a long time. I really want to see how he goes this year. Does he get a chance at the end of the season? What does he learn? When is he ready?
Testing or something?
Yeah, I really want to see how he goes. And I guess the other thing I would say is I'm looking forward to, and whether it develops or not, some competitive racing. So McLaren, Ferrari may be
Yeah.
challenging the big two.
Mercedes, Red Bull. Yeah.
Well, and then AlphaTauri, Alpine, even Williams and Alfa Romeo, can they score some points? Can they get into the conversation? I'd really like to see that.
I think Williams could be midfield this year. I
Would be
think they
great.
could get some podiums and stuff. And I
Yep.
think that's a really interesting thing because previous years with Hamilton and Mercedes dominating, it's been one person going for the championship, maybe two if you're lucky against Rosberg, or this year Verstappen. But I think this year I can think of probably 8 people who could win the title. I mean, 2 Ferraris, 2 McLarens, 2 Mercedes, 2
Yep.
Red Bull,
Potentially.
and someone even out of that. So I think
Yep.
there's a lot of championship contenders.
Well, speaking of that, we do need to make our predictions. We do that every week. It's obviously very difficult coming out of a long layoff. Yeah. I mean, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
No, I'll go first.
Okay.
I think this is hard. This is really hard.
It is, I know.
I think Verstappen's gonna come out roaring. I think he'll win.
Yep.
Then I'm gonna say Hamilton second, and then Leclerc third.
Wow.
That's my guess.
You know what? I'm right in that same wheelhouse. I think you have to lean towards Verstappen. The Red Bull has been better in preseason testing, so I would put him first. And I would agree. I'm sort of in that, where do I go next? And I think McLaren hasn't done very well. So I would look at either Sainz or Leclerc and Hamilton. I know this isn't really answering the question very well. And I think it's okay because it's their first race. We don't really know. I would say of those 5, if I was pushed, I would go Verstappen, Leclerc, Hamilton. I'm just throwing that out there. I think Russell.
Same 3.
If the Mercedes is really good, then Russell might be in with a chance, but we just don't know how good they are. And I think I have to throw Hamilton in there just because he's Lewis Hamilton. But I think Leclerc or Sainz could be in the conversation if Ferrari are as good as people are saying they are, which again, we don't really know.
If you think Russell's going to do well, then this is not going to help my bold prediction for this race.
Oh, this is your one crazy prediction?
Bold prediction.
What do you got?
It's not too out of the realms, but I mean, I'm going to say George Russell doesn't make Q3.
Wow. Okay.
Q2 or Q1 elimination, probably more likely of Q2. We saw a big team in Red Bull last year. Verstappen with Perez, his new teammate. Perez qualified 11th on the grid in Bahrain in the opening race. And some of those rookies in a new team, I think, struggled, although it might be a little different this year because everyone's in a new team, new car. But I still don't think, I mean, he'll definitely get poles and wins this year, but not straight away.
Okay. All right. I don't think actually that's that crazy. It kind of makes sense when you explain it that way.
It'll get crazier over the races.
Yes, I'm sure it will.
By the end of Abu Dhabi, I'll be predicting Kevin Magnussen, world champion. So, yeah.
Let's not get carried away. This is the DRS Zone podcast. As I mentioned, at the DRS Zone pod on Instagram. We will be back after the Bahrain Grand Prix. My name is Ed Wyatt. His name is Sam Wyatt. You can find this everywhere, anywhere you get your podcasts. And thank you for listening. We're really happy to be back. And we're also hoping to maybe sneak in a few surprise podcasts every now and then, maybe even a guest or 2 if we get really lucky. But Sam, is that it? Anything else? I think that about wraps up our first episode.
Think that wraps it up, and excited for Bahrain, and we will see you after that.
Yes, we will.